great to be 17 in the 60s and be in a rock and roll band. Life was wonderful. You know, it was a wonderful time.
Just one day, Phil just was going out to Petre's house to do something. I just tagged along with him, and we just kind of got together that way.
I mean, we were inseparable. We were together all the time. We were, you know, going to Mike Petre's house and, you know, rehearsing all day, every day. And we would just rehearse all afternoon until they made us quit. And we just hung out together all the time.
No, I'm Michael Wayne Petre of formerly of the Lost Souls. 40 years ago.
Well, I'm Phil Griggs. Lost Souls, a band that we had back in the late 60s. A little old band from Jacksonville, Arkansas.
What was the inspiration for the name, The Lost Souls?
It was a joke about white boys playing soul music.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like you were lost.
Yeah, because Stax Records out of Memphis then had all those great things, Wilson Pickett,
Right.
Eddie Floyd, and Sam and Dave,
Right.
and a lot of bands were playing soul music.
Right.
And a black friend of ours made a joke of it one time about, yeah, y'all playing soul music is the Lost Souls.
The Lost Souls were a garage rock band from Jacksonville, Arkansas, that made a haunting ode to teen troubles with their 45 record, Lost Love, My Girl, on Leopard Records in November of 1966. After discovering where the band was from, I made it my mission to find out more about the garage record from my hometown. Arkansas was no exception to the awakening of teenage rock bands across the country in the mid-1960s. There were thriving music scenes in Jonesboro and Little Rock, as well as regional scenes all over the state. Jacksonville, Arkansas, as it turns out, was a hotbed of activity. Multiple venues would vie for the hip teenagers' attention. It was competitive and fun. These were kids letting loose in neighborhood rock bands that had their own take on the popular music of the day. In 1966, Jacksonville, Arkansas was a town of about 17,000. The city was basically a suburb of Little Rock, the state capital, and also home to the Little Rock Air Force Base. There were 2 youth centers to accommodate the local and out-of-state teens living on base. The place to hang out in town was Webb's Dairy Diner. The Lost Souls song, Lost Love, was compiled on a CD titled No, No, No. This CD was the starting point of my entire search for the band. After ordering the CD on a whim, I noticed a scan of the Lost Souls label that was included in the CD artwork. The label had an imprint of a rubber stamp with an address in Jacksonville, Arkansas. From that moment, I began to search for answers and connections that eventually led me to interviewing the group about their time in the Lost Souls.
Larry Lindsay and Bob Bankston, how you found me, Richie Winkler, Rusty Gwatney, and myself. We'd go over to Gwatney's house and practice, and we played a couple of little gigs. I mean, we were horrible, I thought. I mean, looking back on it, I think we were horrible. But our first job was Robinson Auditorium. So
That's a big job.
That's a big job for the first time out. But that kind of fizzled out, and so that's when I hooked up with Mike.
Well, we had a couple of guys come and go, but basically it was always the same 4-piece. Danny Goldman was the drummer, and Michael Corbin was the bass player and vocalist, and Phil Griggs played guitar and vocals, and I played guitar and vocals.
Well, Danny, of course, is our drummer. Mike and Phil played guitar. Mike was always the lead guitar player. Phil never really actually called himself a good guitar player, even though he played rhythm and did a good job on it. But he was the best singer of all of us. He had always been a singer. Ever since I knew him, he had been a singer. Then I, of course, played the bass.
We're just friends in high school. Mike Petray and I just met through mutual friends. Mike Corbin and I lived in the same neighborhood. Danny Goldman lived across the street from Mike Corbin, so that's how we did it. I mean, from Mike Petray, yeah.
Really, there were only the four of us, except at the very beginning of it. And we had one guy that was a friend of, lived out close to where Petray lived. But he was played a little bit with us and or with them, and it was they were trying to teach him how to play a bass guitar, and I kind of showed up. And yeah, this is before I got in the band. What they were doing, they were just playing out at Mike's house and trying to get something organized a little bit. Didn't even have a bass guitar. Nobody had one. They just used a regular 6-string, and somebody was just playing the top 4 strings on it to give the bass, or the bottom 4. But
Bob lived about halfway between Jacksonville and Mike's house. Yeah. And
well, he was a friend of Danny's initially.
Yeah,
that's how he got brought in.
Yeah.
And it was a deal of we need a bass player. Somebody said, show him how.
And it didn't last very long. Mike was better at playing bass than Bob was. So, like Mike said in the other thing, that Bob went to the tambourine.
we were auditioning for a place down in West Little Rock or Southwest Little Rock, and Bob was there, and we were really more of an organized band. We were a band by then. We actually had a real bass guitar at this time, and Bob somehow or another ended up still there, and he was just playing the tambourine, and the guy asked us, the guy's name was Bob White, as I recall, said, I don't understand this other guy here. He plays a pretty wicked tambourine, but why? Basically. And I guess that was the last time Bob played with us. So
we played at every Dairy Queen in town that summer. I remember that.
One thing
except for
recall,
one that we played and you didn't.
I didn't. Had a rough night the night before.
He laid over in the back of a '55 Chevy and just hurt.
As I remember, the first time we almost played together, we had been kind of me and Whitley doing the guitar thing back and forth, and we were going to play at the skating rink down there by the Twin City. And I showed up, and Whitley showed up, but Whitley played, and I didn't. And then after that, I think I started playing more, but it was just some afternoon thing, one Saturday afternoon. It wasn't at night. So that would have been, just right after we,
Right.
Just riding out there with Mike and them.
That was right after our junior year.
Yeah.
It was early summer.
Early summer of '66.
Right.
Yeah, we practiced in the Kentucky Fried Chicken store. The first one in Jacksonville was up close to, it's Doug Wilkerson's Realty, may still be there.
Okay.
It was that building, and there was a big room on the end of it, and we were rehearsing there.